been fighting.
It has grabbed the lower part of my abdomen, the bones and the nerves, which makes it extremely painful. The good news is, among the bad news, it has not gone into any major organ.
Wow!
With a long history in Los Angeles, which included a career in broadcasting and politics, Rosendahl has worked with and alongside the likes of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy.
There's a lot of stories, but the last 7.5 years, I've had the privilege of representing you.
The spirit of Venice, something hard to put into words, but something that is evident in the life and works of each honoree. Residents Don Novak and Jim Smith also were honored with the Spirit of Venice Awards. Turning parking spaces into community gathering places will tell you where in the city you'll soon find these parklets. One part of the city celebrates its first ever synthetic soccer field. And could the city's long battle against digital billboards be nearing its end? These stories and more in City Beat. Turning parking spaces into green space. That's what Councilman Jose Huizar, in collaboration with Living Streets LA, is doing in his district. The community has already selected 2 locations for parklet plazas on Huntington Drive in El Sereno. One will be located right outside the Food for Less grocery store. Parklets are mini parks created from street parking spaces. Work is also underway on the south side of York Boulevard between Avenue 50 and Avenue 51 in Highland Park for a parklet. A traditional park on the southwest corner of York and Avenue 50 is also in the works. The intersection of 27th Street and Central Avenue has been named Dr. Bassett Brown Square. Dr. Bassett Brown, a local pioneer in healthcare services, heads the Central Neighborhood Health Foundation, a nonprofit federally qualified health clinic at the corner of 27th and Central, serving the underserved communities of South Los Angeles.
He has provided healthcare service for thousands upon thousands of people, especially people from within the Vernon Central area.
Brown and his staff see over 12,000 patients a year, most of whom are low income, uninsured, and in need of vital primary and preventative medical care. The first synthetic turf soccer field in Council District 3 opens at the Lanark Recreation Center in Canoga Park. The new field is located on the west side of the park among a handful of mature trees, which will provide much desired natural shade. The new 170-foot by 270-foot field boasts a slew of amenities, such as field and security lighting, shade structures with misters, drinking fountains, concrete walkways, and modified irrigation. Lanark Park is located at 21816 Lanark Street in Canoga Park. A tentative ruling by a member of California's 2nd District Court of Appeals looks to support the city's attempt to cut down on digital billboards around the city that many residents say are a blight to their neighborhoods. The ruling paves the way to revoke a settlement agreement between the city and Clear Channel Outdoor and CBS Outdoor that allowed the firms to install about 100 highly lucrative digital billboards around the city. Councilmember Paul Krikorian, chairman of the city's Budget and Finance Committee, released a statement saying the ruling, if finalized, will be a big step forward in helping the city reduce the number of billboards citywide. LA has made a name for itself by celebrating cultural heritage, and last month was the Filipino community's turn. Ana Marcos has some of the highlights from Filipino American Heritage Month.
The month of October is significant as the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States when natives identified as Luzones Indios came ashore from a Spanish galleon at what is now Morro Bay, California.
Even before the Pilgrims arrived on Plymouth Rock, the Filipinos had already landed here. And now, on the 425th anniversary of their arrival, city leaders and community members are celebrating Filipino American History Month in L.A.
America embraces the cultural diversity in this nation of immigrants and turns it into a national asset.
Our own city's story, I always think it's a fitting metaphor that the original 46 pobladores included 2 Filipinos who were misclassified as Chinos in Spanish, Chinese.
A Filipino art show at City Hall helped highlight the month-long cultural celebration.
It's from my creation, based on true events.
City leaders mentioned the patriotism of many Filipinos who served in World War II despite hardships and discrimination. as well as their service to the city today.
Many of the city workers are of the Filipino heritage, and they do such a great job.
Others paid tribute in a more cultural way.
Makati, sister city, salamat.
All I have to say is that I wore my best barong to show my respect to each and every one of you and my love.
The month-long celebration ended with a bang and a gala event honoring 21 prominent Filipinos, including a female Pentagon colonel. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Work on the long-awaited Silver Lake walking path has been completed, and residents joined city leaders to cut the ribbon on a project that they say will mean added safety for those who use the popular recreational path. This is where Silver Lake comes together. Pet owners out for a stroll or a jogger out for his afternoon run. The Silver Lake Reservoir has long been the gathering place for residents of this community.
3 times a week, I come out here with a group of anywhere from 4 to 12 friends, and we're around this reservoir every single week. And you see your neighbors, you see your friends, you feel the community, you get a sense of what Silver Lake is.
But since the original walking path opened to the public in 2008, pedestrians found themselves running next to traffic for the length of Tesla Avenue on the north side of the Ivanhoe Reservoir that did not have a sidewalk. On this day, council members Eric Garcetti and Tom LaBonge, who each represents a portion of Silver Lake, have joined together with other residents to celebrate the final completion of the walking path, a path that now completely and safely encircles the reservoir.
The community did get together and work with the DWP and others to create probably the most usable option, which is a one-way street, which our main concern, one-way street. For any of you who walk this street, as I have for decades, this was a death trap.
The biggest challenge for the department was to find a way to share our property and to become part of the community and become, one of the neighbors. And we've been really proud that it's been so successful.
From start to finish, the work of making the reservoir accessible to the public has been a 12-year process, but one that has brought health, vitality, and a sense of community to the neighborhood and beyond.
Thousands of people a day walk around the Silver Lake reservoirs. It's 2.5 miles walk, and it's good for health, but it's safer now because this walkway, we really thank the LA DWP.
The building of pathways, helping to build a strong community. There is still a small section of path to create by the south side of the dam. In this week's list of things to do, honoring our veterans, a tour of a building designed by the first female architect in California, and a tribal performance that takes you a world away. On Saturday, November 10th, head over to the Walt Disney Concert Hall for a special performance of the Tsimshian tribes of the northwest coast of North America. Githoan dancers will perform with stunning hand-carved masks, authentic skin and wood drums, and colorful handmade regalia emblazoned with symbols of their culture. The performance is at 11 a.m. and again at 12:30 p.m. with free tickets distributed an hour before each show. Walt Disney Concert Hall is located at 111 South Grand Avenue, downtown. Go to musiccenter.org for information. Forest Lawn's 53rd annual Veterans Day ceremony is the premier event for veterans, their families, and those who honor and respect them. The event on Sunday, November 11th from 11 a.m. to noon is open to the public and celebrates and honors those who have served in the American military and helped preserve our freedom. The ceremony will be held outside on the lawn in front of the Birth of Liberty mosaic. Forest Lawn is located at 6300 Forest Lawn Drive. Go to forestlawn.com for details. On Sunday, November 11th, attend a special conservancy event focusing on California's first licensed female architect and her relationship with the San Pedro YWCA. The event is part of the Julia Morgan 2012 Festival. The program from 2 to 4 p.m. includes a semi-guided tour of the 1918 craftsman-like building, a panel discussion on its role in the lives of military and civilian women, and a reception. The YWCA Harbor area in South Bay is located at 437 9th Street in San Pedro. For tickets, go to laconservancy.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. One community celebrates the centennial of one of the oldest towns in the San Fernando Valley. Gil Reyes reports on Rosita's 100th birthday party.
a celebration a century in the making.
We got people coming out and enjoying themselves and their families. Bands, food, wonderful activities here. A great group of people put this together, celebrating 100 years of Reseda.
Yes, Reseda. Known as the town of Marion when founded back in 1912, it was later renamed Reseda after a type of common variety garden plant. People who organized this music festival and custom car show may have had great-grandparents who moved to the area during the population boom following World War II. Musician Tom Petty sang about Reseda in his 1989 hit Free Fallin'.
And it's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard.
It's also been featured in films like The Karate Kid and Boogie Nights. This opening scene shot outside the old Reseda Theater in the 18,000 block of Sherman Way. A whole lot of shaking going on at the centennial celebration, and perhaps it's only fitting, since Reseda is the actual epicenter of the 1994 Northridge earthquake. That epicenter located near Reseda Boulevard and Strathern Street. On the special occasion, Councilman Dennis Zine hands out awards to the Reseda Neighborhood Council and the West Valley LAPD.
And a great opportunity to show what a community can do when it pulls together, and that's what Reseda has done. 100 years, the great community of Reseda, the hub of the San Fernando Valley. May they have 100 more.
Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The festival held at Reseda Park is expected to become an annual event. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Came to the U.S.
I brought my hopes and dreams for a better life.
Since becoming a U.S. citizen,
I'm running for public office.
I've traveled with the freedom and security of a U.S. passport.
And I voted for President of the United States.
U.S. citizenship means a better life.
I chose opportunity.
I chose freedom.
I chose responsibility.
I chose to become
a U.S. citizen.
I'm a proud American.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
the members. Sergeants, please. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council chambers. Today's date is November 7th. Mr. Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Alarcon, Buscaino, Cardenas, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Carres, Krikorian, LaBanche, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Weezer moves, Englander seconds. Next.
Approval of the minutes.
LaBange moves, Parks seconds.
Mr. President, would you like to run through the agenda?
I would love to run through the agenda.
Very good, sir. Item 1 is an item notice for public hearing. However, the Office of Finance recommends that it be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
Any cards on it?
Yes, sir.
Do we know what's... Well, I guess we'll just hold that for now. Let's move to the next section.
Very good, sir. Items 2 through 12 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, specials members. Mr. Reyes.
Item number 5, we can refer that to Plum, please.
5, we refer back to Plum without objection. Mr. Buscaino.
Item 8, please. 8.
We hold item 8 for Mr. Buscaino. 7 for Mr. Alarcon.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, let's vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, next section.
Items 13 through 25 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are before us now. Mr. Parks.
Yes, I have special 21 and 22, and if I could get 22 out of order because we have officers and the family here.
Okay, 21 and 22. Oh, Mr. Parks, on 21, I was told they want to refer that back to the Plum Committee, Budget Committee.
Okay, I just would like to make one comment then.
Okay,
if possible.
We can do that.
Yeah, I would just like to ask them to look at one issue, that we have a stacking plan that was approved by the council on moving leases back into city facilities, and that those do not appear to need a moratorium. It's the other ones that would be a moratorium.
Okay, Mr. Reyes, are you comfortable with Mr. Mr. Krikorian's not here. I think that's fine, Mr. Parks. So we'll do that for you, but we will refer it back to budget for now, and we will hold your other item. Any other specials, members? 20 for Mr. Alarcon. Mr. Garcetti.
Number 24, please.
24 for Mr. Garcetti. Okay, cards, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, we have cards on items 15, 18, 20, 24, and 24.
Okay, well, let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Madam Clerk, open the roll.
Mr.
Yes.
President, I'm sorry. There has been a request from member to refer to continue item 25 to this Friday, the 9th. That would be November 9.
Without objection, that'll be the order. Okay, now let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay. Where are we now, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, that takes us to item 26, and it's an item scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold it on the desk?
Yeah, I need to have a conversation with Mr. Krikorian, so let's hold that.
Very good. That takes council back to items called special or general public comment.
Okay. LaBanche.
I'll talk to you in a minute. I got a present.
Mr. Parks, what was that item you made a request that we... 22?
Hello, let's go to item 22, Mr. Clerk, right now. Pull that up, please.
Item 22, called special for Councilmember Parks.
Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. I'd ask Detective Melvin Hernandez to come up to the podium, and also he'd be accompanied by the grandmother of our victim, Alberta Blackman, and other family members. Colleagues, we have a reward motion on a case that happened on Saturday, April 21st, 2012, in which Kendrick Blackman is a victim of a homicide.
If the family would like to come forward.
Does she need some help, Renzo? Mm-hmm. Detective Hernandez, could you give an overview of the case, and then we'll ask Ms. Blackman to give a personal plea, and ask the family members to come up so that you can be in support of it.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. On April 21st, it was a Saturday morning. Kendrick Blackman was driving home. He was 6 blocks from his residence when a car drove up next to his and fired multiple shots in the car. Kendrick was shot and killed. Kendrick had no gang ties, no gang affiliation, no criminal history whatsoever. We have very little leads on this case. Based on the violent nature of this crime, we believe it's gang related. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Based on the violent nature of this crime, we believe it's gang related, and we have very little leads. We feel that there's witnesses out there that may be reluctant to come forward. Hopefully this, with the reward motion, this would assist in arrests.
Okay. Could we ask the grandmother to come up at this time?
I don't exactly know where to start, but he was a good kid, and I'm kind of still emotional. He worked hard. He had 2 jobs. He's been playing for a church since he was 17, and he really didn't deserve this. In fact, he couldn't have become an armed guard for Bank of America if he had any kind of record. So I'm just hoping that someone will come forward, because it is a tragedy and it is a loss. It's hard, and I know Councilman Parks understands, because he had to bury a grandchild. So it's horrible, and I hope no one else has to go through this. Thank you.
Detective Hernandez, could you give us the phone number to reach you in case of leads?
Sure. It's 213-485-4341, and that's the telephone number to Criminal Gang Homicide Division over at 7600 South Broadway.
Okay. And just for the public again, this case happened on Saturday, April 21st, 2012, at approximately 1:35 a.m. Kendrick Blackman, a male black, 22 years of age, was driving home with his friends. He was accosted by a suspect who shot him, and he passed away from those injuries. We asked for community support in bringing this case to closure, and we asked for an aye vote on a $50,000 reward.
Thank you, Mr. Parks, the Blackman family. Thank you very much at this sorrowful time. Mr. Clerk, could we open the roll on that? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
11 ayes forthwith on that matter. Next matter, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, that brings us to item number 1, called special for cards.
Thank you very much. Item 1, special card. Mr. Dahlhaus, please.
Yes, my name is Juan Alcalá, Dollhouse Dude. My organization, the United World of Free and Clear, a world where nobody has a landlord anymore and everybody has a home. This item is regarding a lien against a business that hasn't paid taxes. not a very good system, because you're going to destroy a whole business because they owe you $6,000 and some dollars. Yeah, you're going to end a lot of jobs. It's just a very bad way to do business. You should not take people's house away for a little bit of taxes that they owe you. You almost did it to the friend where I live, Dave Rappel. You said he owed you less than $2,000. He has his house paid off, and you almost took it away on a tax sale. How ridiculous. He worked all his life and paid off the house, and he can still lose it for less than $2,000. Are we stupid? Yes, we are. We don't need a system where people will lose their home for almost nothing. We need to revamp the whole system so that people will all have a home and nobody can lose it for any reason.
Mr. Labanchi's not talking about this item.
All right, just to let everyone know in the chambers, the property owner has paid the lien. This matter is to be cleared. Thank you very much. No speakers on the queue. Open the roll.
Mr. President, and again, this is to receive and file this matter in as much as the lien has been paid.
That's correct. Receive and file on this. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you very much. The next item are called special request of Mr. Garcetti. Item 24. We have two cards, Jesse Carrera as well as Lindsay Hallworth. Lindsay? Yes, please. And Jesse? Jesse Corral? Excuse me.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us this morning. My name is Lindsay Horvath. I'm the regional coordinator for V-Day's 1 Billion Rising campaign, and we're really grateful and excited that Los Angeles is joining us in this movement. We're part of the global V-Day movement to end violence against women and girls, and our 1 Billion Rising campaign addresses the reality that UN statistics say that 1 billion women in their lifetime will experience some form of violence. So that's 1 in 3 women, so it's actually over 1 billion. And so our movement is to combat those numbers. And on February 14th next year, 1 billion people on the planet will be rising in a commitment to ending violence, and we're very excited that Los Angeles is joining us. We're very grateful to Councilmember Eric Garcetti for leading this effort. We know that he has always consistently stood with women, and so we're very grateful for his leadership. We're also grateful for the support and co-sponsorship of Councilmember Koretz, and we're really glad to see that Los Angeles is making this issue important and a priority. We saw last night a solid defeat of rape culture in Congress, and so we are glad to continue support of a healthy and safe environment for women here in Los Angeles.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Jesse Corral.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Jessie Corral, and I'm the Rape Prevention Education Coordinator at Peace Over Violence. And at Peace Over Violence, we're a nonprofit that works to build healthy families, communities, and relationships to live lives free from domestic, sexual, and interpersonal violence. In the last year alone, we received 15,000 hotline calls from survivors of domestic or sexual violence and counseled 3,000 survivors in person. So we see that this is definitely impacting our community and that this violence needs to stop, not just here in Los Angeles, but globally, as it is affecting, as Lindsay said, more than 1 million women. Every day someone is experiencing this type of violence, and it needs to stop. So we really would love to see everyone's support and taking action and rising to the occasion to be a part of this campaign and to make it a call to action for the whole city. We're really excited to be a part of this and partnering with V-Day and this campaign as we have intervention and prevention services for survivors, and we work to end this type of violence every day in our schools, in our communities, and globally. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jesse. We're going to close the public comment on that. Mr. Clerk, give them a better hand if we're going to give them a hand. They're very much fighters. Thank you. Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, and I'll just briefly comment because I wanted the voices of those folks who are behind the campaign to speak most loudly. And thank you so much to Lindsay, to V-Day, National Organization for Women, and of course Peace Over Violence, who recently honored our now newest congressman, who I hope will be here today, Tony Cardenas, for his good work. And thank you to the entire council who has stood up very strongly against violence, whether that be domestic violence, whether that be sexual violence, whether it be a culture of violence. And for all of us that are here, whether it's a war crime a continent away, whether it's DNA kits that go untested, whether or not it's dating violence that we see among teenagers, whether it's the issue of trafficking, which happens on our street corners and in our mini malls here, we have to speak up as one world against this violence, and this council has, whether it was adopting the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, whether it was standing up for an international criminal court that for the first time would internationally hold accountable those who would use rape as a weapon in war, or whether it's a country that, as you said, Lindsay, stood up against at least a couple people who spoke out in horrendous ways about rape. We, as a country, as a people, and as humanity, need to make sure that the violence that visits too many women and girls and that visits too many families and too many human beings ends, and that the cycle of violence ends as well, because those who have violence perpetrated on them often will become perpetrators themselves. When you see those folks that are on death row, so many of them came from violent households. When you see people who are in prison, so many of them came out of that. When you see our foster youth, so many of them are foster youth because of the violence and the way that we pay for this over and over and over. So we have 4 million people that we're going to add to this 1 billion rising, and that's a pretty good amount of change to put on the pro side. And I hope that we inspire other cities and that we can send this out, and I'd ask our CLA maybe if we can through the National League of Cities to send this to our other member cities and to ask them to join this. The National League of Cities represents all municipalities in the United States so that we can get closer and closer until we get to 1 billion people who stand up against the violence that has affected too many people and must stop. Thank you so much for this today, and I ask for your support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Garcetti, and thank you for your leadership. Mr. Clerk, on this item, we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Very good. Let's move forward. Next item, I'm going to call on the councilman of the 50th District, Joe Buscaino.
Thank you.
Pardon me, sir. That would be item number 8.
Number 8. Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can invite ITA representatives. Thank you so much, Mark, Madeline, for being here. Colleagues, when we talk about lacity.org, it's our city's website. A website is often the first impression that someone will make of an organization. And if we want to inspire businesses to come and invest in the city who may be looking to relocate here, we should have a website that's easy to navigate, user-friendly, professional, and modern. And when it comes to customer service, it's absolutely essential that all of our departments participate and provide information to our website. And I strongly, and I said in this committee, I strongly believe in good customer service, and it's making sure it's an easy way for our residents and those across the country ensure that we provide information about services to our residents and beyond. Mark, Madeline, can you just give us your thoughts on where we stand? I know this has been an issue that this city has been dealing with since 2009. Give us a history quickly, where we stand on, the number of services that are being targeted when folks visit our website. And in addition, can you let us also know, since we've had some staffing reductions, specifically in the 311 call center, how have hold times increased in 311, and how can this website help offload some of the requests currently coming through on 311?
Good morning, council members. Thank you, Councilman Buscaino. My name is Mark Wolf. I'm the executive officer with ITA, and with me is Madeline Piguet. She is the manager in ITA that is over our web services group that supports lacity.org's website, as well as all of the elected official websites that we provide support for. She's also the project manager for the redesign of lacity.org. Back in mid-November of last year, ITA reported to ITGS committee on the status of the lacity.org redesign project. And we also at that time demoed a work in progress. Since that time, we have made significant progress. We had a usability consultant hired that brought in focus groups to test the navigation, user friendliness, and the overall design of the website. With their input, along with input from constituents, businesses, and city staff, we have evolved the website into an innovative new design, and we are excited to demo this for you this morning. ITA is pleased to report that we will be launching the new lacity.org website next week, Tuesday, November 13th. Between now and that time, we will be working on the final testing of the site to ensure that the departmental content is presented properly. Departments have played a key role in categorizing more than 1,700 services that are in the 311 Citywide Services Directory database so that residents and businesses accessing lacity.org know who to contact, what the services entail, and what hours the services are available. Following next week's launch, we'll continue to work with departments over the next 30 days to fine-tune the Citywide Services Directory content to ensure that titles and descriptions of services that are presented in lacity.org are public-friendly and avoid using acronyms or other bureaucratic jargon that's not easily understood by the public. We have been tracking the progress of the lacity.org departmental content updates by departments with bi-weekly scorecard reports that we have shared with general managers and their departmental coordinators. At this point, before we go into questions, I'd like to transition to having Madeline present to you a preview of the new lacity.org website.
Before we get into Madeline, Mark, we talked about the scorecard. So which of the city departments do we still need some help with?
Okay, I would say that overall, in terms of the initial step that we needed them to do, categorizing their 1,700 services so they were viewable in lacity.org, we now are down to about 3 departments that still need to do some additional work.
Yes, let's name those 3 departments and put them on check and let them know that we need their help.
Well, right now, we need still more work with the airports. They have a few contacts that I need to work with, and they're a much larger department. So that's one department who we need to get more of their services, at least their most popular services, on the site, so that when people do a search for services that they may offer, that they can come up. I think there's some other departments like planning department who we've been working with very closely, but they've had a change in staff. So a lot of departments have been working with us, but there are a few stragglers, and mainly because of the change in staff and also lack of staff being able to dedicate to this project. So we hope that with your support, we can get them in the next 30 days to help prioritize this so that when there's a lot of attention on the site especially, it'll be much useful for the initial turnout.
Great. Do you want to go into just quickly?
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm excited. Thanks for the opportunity. And in the screens here and probably on TV, you can see this is our new homepage. And the development of the technology is pretty much completed. And so, like we said, we're working with departments pretty much just to fill in and finalize content for all the pages. So there's a lot to see on the new site, but I'll just quickly showcase only the most notable features. So right under the main navigation, you can easily access online services. So for example, if somebody needs to make a payment online, they simply have to click on Make a Payment. And here, they should be able to see all the available payment transactions that can be completed online, as well as browse for other online services available. So an example is requests for services or assistance, and real-time or GIS maps. And here you'll see only one service, so there actually are more than this. The city has invested a lot of technology into providing a lot of real-time maps, GIS maps, and here's an example of work we still need to do with departments who, even those who have completed their scorecards, they might not have put in a full inventory of their services to populate these pages. Okay. So from the main navigation on the top, we have what we call mega menus. And from there, we feature the most requested services under each option that are based on the number of 311 calls in the past 7 days. So this example shows that for residents, the most requested services include bulky item pickup and graffiti removal. Now, for businesses, the most requested services are about inspections, permitting, business tax, licensing. So if we go back to the homepage, you'll see a highlights area that provides a slideshow of featured items that can link to related content, such as an event flyer or related services, even a promo or a public service announcement video. So we try to mash up a lot of related information related to that one special highlight.
And that's an exciting thing about the site, that with the new technologies that are available today, we're trying to really leverage multimedia and social media in the website. So from a highlight in today's website for lacity.org, you only can click on a link that will bring you either to a website or like a PDF that tells you about a specific highlight. With this new website, you can link to, as Madeline's indicated, a video that may have been footage from a press conference, an actual press release, a website that will have more information. All that will be accessible, and it's much more feature-rich in the content that will be available.
So our action today is hoping we move forward with this, but also it's also a work in progress. I mean, if you go back to the home page, it looks like we can tweak it in a way that will highlight the city of Los Angeles. To me, it looks like Palm Desert, because it looks like a desert when you look at the home page. So, but when you come to design and look at other cities, and something that Mr. Garcetti and I have talked about in the last few days, we can do that, right? It is a work in progress, especially when it comes to design, right?
Yes. And what's exciting about the site now is, and Madeline's still kind of walking us through some of the other features, that information on the site, what we tried to do is, the current site today has so many different links on it, it's almost overwhelming for individuals. So we've tried to really hone that down, reduce the number of clicks that it takes to get to the information that you need, and push information up front so that it's readily viewable already on the front page.
I want to thank ITA and the team. I know we're always doing more with less, and I really appreciate the effort and moving forward and launching our new website. And also want to thank Mr. Englander and Mr. Garcetti for also being active in the last couple of years in launching a new website, and also holding the city departments accountable to get the information in place. So thank you for your time. I know a couple of my colleagues may have a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Buscaino. I've been dreaming of this day for years, and feel like we're almost there, and thank you for the good work that a lot of people put in to this. A few things, I think I represented ITA 7 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago now, the last time we won one of the best in digital government websites, but I don't think we've placed anywhere close in a long time. And it hasn't been because we have showered you with extra money and you've squandered it. It's been, I know, in very tight budget times. Many times, as you said, you just have not had the resources and the people, so I want to thank those that have been working hard. And none of this is at all, I think you've done a lot with very little. That said, I want to kind of go through a few things in the website and some of the... First, let me just say this most broadly. When American Express was going to launch its new website, they said, hey, we're going to do a new website, and we're going to put that up for about 6 months while the old one is there too, to get feedback, to get input. And one of the best things we've always seen in technology space is the idea of crowdsourcing, the idea that a lot of people can give feedback and comments. Sometimes in government we hold things and then say, here it is, as if it's like a new car. A website's very different than a car. It's like something you're constantly building and taking things off of and putting on. It's a work in progress. And one of the things I want to make sure we have in this year's budget is ongoing resources for you to make those tweaks and to make that. But I'd also love to involve the public. We have an exploding, digital information technology sector here in Los Angeles. I've had so many experts who run companies, who have websites, this is what they do for a living, who've said, sure, we'd love to give feedback, we'd love to get involved, we'd love to volunteer time, we'd love if you need design services, whatever it is. And so I'd love to be a bridge for you, to connect you with some of those folks, but also to maybe just throw out there as a consideration that instead of a hard launch and the other one's gone, doing a parallel launch for a series of times, if that's feasible technologically. The other worry I have is on the back end. I think the core of what we do, and the number one thing we do, is constituent requests. And looking at some of the states and the cities that have kind of best-in-class websites, Alabama, Austin, Boston in past years. They're very good at highlighting that very quickly, and I think you can get to it, but visually you still, online services up there, neighborhood resources, but really making that as visual as possible. But the back end of where it goes is one of the frustrations. For instance, we have a smartphone app, as you know, we launched it a few years ago. It works through your smartphone in my district, where you can take a picture of a pothole or graffiti, and through the GPS in your phone, we know where it is, and 2 days later we can let you know that that pothole is filled or that graffiti is painted out when you send us a picture. But that only comes to us in an email right now. And I know there's different departments. It's not just ITA. This is part of the dysfunction of our structure of information technology in the city. But I think it's really critical that we have the back end to be able to push that, so that if somebody puts something in, if you go to our website at cd13.com, we've worked through that company. There's an online version of that too that allows us to have the nuance of where the geography is, to track your constituent stuff. I know Mr. Englander is going to take that a little further about how we can do that tracking, but I don't see a change to the back end. So I want you all to let us know what you need to do, because we can change the front end and click through to the same places, but if it isn't efficient getting the information to the places we need to go, that's not there. And then third, just on the look, and I think the look has some very good positive stuff with it, but I think we reinvent our website is really the first place most people will see our logo. And so it's not just something for ITA, but for all of our departments and all of us, the city needs one look. And so this is an opportunity for us possibly to look at that. Maybe if we do have a couple months, feedback period, we can work with mayor's office and city departments to really be looking at one symbol that's out there for the city of Los Angeles. No other company or enterprise or entity has as many different looks as we do. And this is a nice one, but it's the, 75th I've seen since I've been here, not just on the website, but on different trucks, etc. So those are some of the things I'd like to see us address, and maybe look at a soft parallel launch instead of just going to a hard launch, is a suggestion I would make.
Mr. Englander.
Very much, and thank you, Mr. Garcetti and Mr. Buscaino as well. This is critically important because, as Mr. Garcetti just said, this is the first contact, and you only have time to make an impression on the first contact, or however that saying is. But there's first impression once. That's it. And this is the first impression. This is where people, not just locally, but visitors nationally and internationally, are going to be looking for information. So I think the look is very, very important. And having said that, and stylistically, I think we could certainly have those discussions. More importantly, the information that you're going to be putting in, as Mr. Garcetti talked about, that's something that I've been working on and focused on as well. The front end is important, but the back end is even more important, because it could be great information in, but if it's garbage out, it's not going to work. And an example of that is if somebody puts in a constituent service request to pick up bulky item pickup in Mr. LaBonge's district, or Mr. Krikorian has some potholes that he needs to be fixed, they should get a tracking number, and the tracking number should have a disposition that goes back with an email. You can do that on almost anything you buy now. You can go on to Zappos.com and order a pair of shoes, and it gives you a tracking number. UPS and FedEx, for everything that you buy, tells you exactly when it gets on the truck and when it's on its way to your home and what has happened, or if there's a delay, or if it's out of stock. We should be able to do the same thing in the city of Los Angeles. In fact, if you go to Domino's Pizza and order a pizza online, it shows you the pizza being made, it shows you the driver getting in his vehicle, and literally a clock starts ticking, and then the doorbell rings and your pizza's there. Those are the things we should be doing in the city of Los Angeles, but it doesn't mean starting with the website, because if we don't have the data, the ability to get it to the departments, we need a system. We need some systems in place in the city of Los Angeles on the back end, the infrastructure, the backbone, in order for those departments to receive the information and be able to disseminate it and respond to it and send the disposition. So I would ask that we start immediately working with the departments to put together a plan for that data. And there's a lot of other cities, in fact, that already do this. If you go into Boston's website, it's fantastic. You get a tracking number for every single request you submit. You get a tracking number for it. And that tracking number, you can track it through the process, and it tells you exactly what's happening and when your street's going to be paved or when that tree's going to be trimmed. And so those are the things I think we really need to look at, is to be user-friendly, as Mr. Garcetti talked about as well, and move us into the information age. And wanted to thank the department. You guys are incredibly focused on this. We've had a lot of conversations over the years. I'm really excited about it because I think it's so incredibly important. So thank you very much.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. First, I want to thank you and congratulate you for getting us this far. It's been a lot of time and effort spent on this. In the past few weeks, I've been engaged with different neighborhood councils. I've been invited as a swear in their new officers. What struck me is that every neighborhood council were struggling with the fact that we don't have the resources there for them. For example, in planning department, we don't have enough staff in the planning department to attend to the issues of land use in these committees, in the neighborhood councils. We don't have city attorneys. We just don't have them. The bodies aren't there to support them to negotiate some very touchy items on their agendas. So my request would be, everyone has the ability to get to a laptop in these neighborhood council meetings. If there are ways to start framing basic notions like how to conduct the meeting, how to roll call the agenda, what items to call out, basic fundamental mechanical boilerplates that could be there for them. Key issues that pertain to land use subjects, basic descriptions that allow them to make informed decisions. We might not have the body there, but we could have reference to information. And these are very tangible, real products that they could refer to. I don't know if it exists in the Dunn website or not. I don't know. But it seemed to me that in the heat of the discussions, in the process of trying to deliver a coherent discussion, there was, what do you do first? What's the protocol, et cetera, et cetera. There isn't a way to refer to these kinds of points of information. And to me, the website is a tremendous tool for that. And as you were saying, with all the different forms of media and technology, every council and every neighborhood council could have the ability to craft what they think is best for them, especially on the land use side. The planning police powers in the city is what drives our quality of life and how we improve our own neighborhoods and define our space. But what are the laws that dictate that? What are the planning concepts that drive different discussions? I'm not sure that's available to them. And I can tell you the staff that was there from Dunn, they've been to like 15 meetings already that night. I mean, they were tired. They're working hard. So I think this technology can help fill a giant void if we understood the approach. So it's my understanding that there's going to be how do you see this rolling out in terms of factoring this kind of input that I'm just suggesting?
Watch your time, Mr. Reyes.
Yeah, I'm done.
Well, like you said, this is a work in progress, and we really depend on departments to give us input and also take ownership of the website. So that information is excellent to have on the website, and right now we rely on departments to tell us how they should compose that information, how it would be user-friendly, and work with us in getting that information right on the site. And you're right, that information is probably right in the Dunn website, but maybe buried and a few clicks away from here. But anything that you feel should be, or departments feel should be accessible readily right on lacity.org, we rely on their input to let us know. And we definitely can make a page, and we work with them to make sure that that information is on the surface rather than buried on the site. So a lot of it has to do with departments' input and working with us and taking ownership of the site as also their site to service the public, not just leave it to ITA 100%.
Thank you.
Ms. Perry.
Just a quick question, and thank you, Mr. Buscaino, for initiating this through the committee. What's your pre-launch strategy? How are you going to pull in new subscribers and participants and to let them know that this update and this conversion has taken place so that we can get in even more people than we had before?
Well, I'm actually going to start working on is putting together a promo video that we're hoping will launch also to Channel 35, and we'll put it on YouTube, and we're going to try our social media efforts, and with the staff that we have, that's as much as we can do. And so we can, of course, share that video with all of the city and encourage departments to maybe link to it as well from their website, and so that they can help us invite the public to visit this new site and give us some comment and feedback. But so far, that's the scope.
Do you have any goals or thresholds that you feel you need to cross in terms of subscribers to make a determination as to whether or not this revision has been successful?
Well, we do monitor stats. We subscribe to Google Analytics, and we see that we are getting over 350,000 page views. So the page is viewed over 350,000 times a month, which is actually small for a city our size. So any significant increase in that will tell us that people are paying attention and they're finding the website useful and coming back and getting information from the site. So we do kind of have a baseline.
And then how often do you review those numbers?
I try to review it monthly, and what we try to do is, and at the very least quarterly, because what we like to do also is remind departments, especially when we see that there's not enough highlights coming up. We remind departments every season that, look, there's winter, spring, summer, fall, those seasons are coming up, and we need you to start planning and start posting highlights. So we often offer them our statistics to encourage them to see that they'll be getting a lot more views of their service announcement than if they just left it on their site.
And Councilwoman, if I could add, in addition to, as Madeline's described, the communication that we will leverage using social media, beyond that, we hope to also have, the mayor's office has been very supportive through the development of this, in addition to council's support. So we would like to get a press release out for the 13th that would make this visible to the media to get coverage. Also, as Madeline's indicated, in addition to the web, we'll also leverage Channel 35. And, the more each department can help communicate lacity.org as a place, as a 24/7 place they can go for support, that's really the message that needs to get out. Right.
Okay, thank you. There are no more speakers on the queue, so why don't we prepare Madam Clerk to vote on this item? Would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we had several ordinances. We now have over 12 members. So let's have a vote on reconsideration.
Very good. And for the record,
those items?
Yes, sir. Those would be items 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 16, and 17.
Okay, so this vote is for reconsideration. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now let's actually vote on those items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Labange, you ready for item 18? I have 2 cards on item 18. John Walsh and Dalhouse Dude, please come forward.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. I slept late last night. Did the white guy win? Who won the election?
Let's speak on the item.
Guess the Negro one. This one. HollywoodHighlands.org. You know, it's always a pleasure to speak in front of you, Mr. Wesson, because you're always kind and considerate. Number 18, and incidentally, I'm never gracious in victory. I am vengeful in victory. And number 18 concerns properties on REAP, as we've said before. We like REAP. This is a new turning point. I want to say to every minority in the United States, we had a good run, white people. We're handing the country over to you, and I'm confident it'll be in better hands than it would have been with Mitt Romney. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dude.
Well, as you know, rednecks come in all colors, and the rednecks...
Stay on the item.
Lost.
Stay on this item.
Okay, on this item, it deals with resolution removing the property at 139 2nd Street, case number 164406 from the rent escrow account. Here we go again. All this complicated system of escrow, real estate, red tape after red tape. Nobody can live in peace this way. We need a system where there is no red tape, where we don't need City Hall to go around taking houses away from people. We do not need a system that creates homelessness. Did Obama talk about that? Did Romney talk about that? No, they're a bunch of idiots talking about all other kind of issues except the most important issue, which is everybody needs a place from which to work and operate. And I don't care if you want to be somebody that wants to be roaming the countryside, you should have one little place where you can store your junk without anybody else.
Mr. President, he's not talking about the rent escrow account.
Stay on the item, Mr. Dude.
Yeah, the item again is we got to change the way we do business. Thank you.
Okay, let's, Madam Clerk, prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
I don't. We go to item 15. I have cards from John Walsh and Dalhouse Dude.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. You don't have to go to our voter guide anymore. The last 7 days, 60,000 successful requests on our website for our voter guide. Again, for identification purposes only, the Victory Committee on No on Measure J. Again, I want to say I remember this city. We're talking about street lighting. Up until about 5-6 years ago, the lights at Yucca and Argyle constantly going out, constant phone calls for years and years. Ever since you upgraded the system, I haven't had a complaint or seen a light out in this city, and I've been here at the same address since 1976. The last 6 or 7 years, not a single problem with the lighting, thanks to our city councilman and our city councilwoman. Thank you. HollywoodHighlands.org. Keep up the good job on street lighting.
Mr. Dude.
Yes, that's not my clock. No. Street lighting is important, yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of communities where they don't have any lighting and nobody gets killed. So maybe we need something else besides street lighting. I think we need a home for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Now we'll move to item 20, where we have Mr. John Walsh, Dr. Tom Williams, Mr. Dude, and Daniel Garcia. So Mr. Walsh passes. Dr. Williams?
One minute. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. This particular item has a bill on it of $435,000. Wow, that's a lot of funds. Is there any way for neighborhood councils to find out which districts have so much money that they can reallocate without any incorporation of the neighborhood councils into the dispersion of $435,000 to various nonprofits and community groups, whereas The neighborhood council for Sunland and Tahunga and some of the others only get $37,000 to operate for one whole year on their own, all with volunteers. Thank you.
Okay, and I've been informed that Mr. Dude, your time has expired. Is Daniel Garcia? No, your time is expired. Mr. Clerk, is that correct? Okay, so you still have your general public comment. I don't see Daniel. Daniel Garcia? Here he comes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, City Council. I'm very happy and very happy to be here again on this wonderful presidential election. And I want to say that on the comment, on the issue, that the item has no allocation of money for people with disabilities. I bet you anything, anywhere, that you can find a group of people who deserve the money on the item, like IRC, Independent Living Center, deserve the money to allocate, deserve the money to be, deserve the money. People with disabilities have always been the one that actually not being allocated in this fund. This fund should be also integrated for people with disabilities in large regard. I want to know if the city would be willing to actually make available for funding for people with disabilities in organizations that help people with disabilities. So therefore, I want to say that yes, I approve this agenda item, but you should be looking for people with disabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia, and it's good to see you again. Okay, on this item, yes, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, and just for clarification, there is an amending motion 20A, that has been circulated and is now before Council for its consideration.
Okay, Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, just for the purposes of clarification for a couple of the speakers, first of all, many of the organizations receiving funds do have programs for developmentally disabled, mental health issues, and services that were spoken of by the last gentleman. And also, the neighborhood councils have each received $10,000 from this same fund. So they understand how I use this fund. So thank you very much for your concern about our neighborhood council system. But with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item as amended. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to move, Mr. Alarcon, if you're ready, to item 7. What I am suggesting that we do on this item, first let me ask, is there anybody here today in opposition of item 7? So then what we will do is we'll do 20 minutes.
Unanimous.
Mr. Alarcon, we'll do 20 minutes, 1 minute each. And we will begin with Manuel Pastor. Is Maria Elena here? Durazo? Marquise Dawson? And Betty Hung. 20 minutes, 1 minute each. Please, sir.
Hello, I'm Manuel Pastor. I'm director of the Center for the Study of Immigrant Integration at the University of Southern California. And I want to say about the City Services Card that it's the right thing to do, it's the right time to do it, and it'll put us on the right track for the future. It's the right thing to do because it's an integrated services card that will be important for issues of security and integration, but also for financial inclusion and also the promotion of literacy through the library function that it embodies. Over 60% of the unbanked population in Los Angeles is foreign-born. Half of them report that the reason that they can't get banked is because of a lack of ID. If we can bank the unbanked, we will increase their incomes by reducing what they pay for check cashing fees by $150 million, and that'll be a real boost to the economy. So it's the right time to do it because of that boost to the economy and because research is showing that this kind of integration actually helps promote economic resilience. It's also the right track for the future. 2/3 of our children are the children of immigrants. Making that they're sure that their parents are more secure will help them be more secure. Thank you.
It pains me to cut you off, Professor Pastor, but thank you for all your hard work. Buenos días. Permite que llegue la persona para traducir.
Good morning. Yo estoy aquí representando miles de personas de la comunidad.
I am here representing thousands of people in the community.
Que queremos pedirles que aprueben este documento.
We want to ask you to approve this document.
Ya que es un documento muy importante para poder abrir cuentas bancarias.
It is a very important document to be able to open a bank account.
Para poder cobrar nuestros cheques sin que tengamos que pagar $3 a $5.
For us to be able to cash our checks without having to pay $3 to $5.
Para poder ir a la escuela y para que nos puedan dar los niños o en el médico.
For us to be able to go to school and for us to get the children or go to the doctor.
Pienso que es un documento muy importante para poder incorporarnos a esta sociedad.
It's a very important document for us to be incorporated into this society.
Y podríamos salir beneficiados todos.
And for everybody to have a benefit.
Les pido que aprueben esta medida.
I ask you to please approve this item.
Ya que nos va a beneficiar mucho a muchas personas de la comunidad.
It's going to benefit many people in the community. Thank you.
Gracias. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Marquise Harris Dawson. I'm president of Community Coalition in South Los Angeles. We're here to encourage everybody to support this measure this morning. Not only is it important that the city of Los Angeles have such a mechanism to stand between or stand in the gap between an unjust immigration system in the U.S. and an inadequate ID system by the state of California, it's also particularly important to South LA. We have a high concentration of residents that are still working on getting the appropriate documentation. We also have a high number of residents that are locked out of doing business with the Department of Motor Vehicles because they've got too many tickets or they've got fines, and so they've got a big financial burden before the Department of Motor Vehicles will issue them either an ID or a license, and this provides an out to them. And so we ask for your strong support. It'll make a big difference in the quality of life in South Los Angeles, and it also will dramatically improve our economic activity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Betty Hung. I'm the policy director at the Asian Pacific American Legal Center. We are the largest civil rights and legal organization in the nation that serves Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Annually, we assist over 15,000 individuals, including many who would benefit from the city service card. This card would promote civic pride amongst all Angelinos and enhance the ability of all city residents to access city services and participate in the local and regional economy. It presents a city with an opportunity to serve all of its residents, including populations that often have difficulty accessing financial institutions and city services. To give you an example, in our parent organizing network, there have been many instances where parents have actually had difficulty picking up their children from schools because of the lack of an ID. This city service card would address that issue. Moreover, it would send the message that we are one city, that we are all Angelinos, and promote the inclusion and pride of all of us being in one city together.
Thank you,
We
ma'am.
ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker?
Good morning. Maria Elena Durazo with the LA Federation of Labor, and I want to first thank everyone who was with us on Prop 30 and Prop 32. We pulled LA together on that, and thank the members of the City Council who were with us on those issues. On the city service card, I also want to thank the leadership of City Councilman Richard Alarcon for what you have done to move this forward. This is important for labor. We want the city of LA to work for everyone to have the opportunity to participate in the maximum way possible. That's smart for everyone. Why are we the largest unbanked population city in the country? I don't understand. So we're here as a labor movement to completely support this city service card. It'll help with personal security, eliminate these check cashing fees, and frankly, it's going to create more jobs. And why would we say no to creating more jobs? Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Good day, sir.
Mike Garcia, proud president of United Service Workers West, SEIU. Many of you definitely know us. 12% of LA City households are unbanked. Unbanked individuals spend between $800 to $1,000 annually on check cashing services that exploit them. The city service card will ensure that those often shut out of the formal economy have the opportunity to access vital services and be treated with the dignity and respect they deserve. It's important working Angelenos have access to honest financial services, which many of us take for granted, so that they are not exploited by overpriced check cashing services that will, in the end, make them make things for them much more difficult just because of who they are. The status quo is discriminatory and continues to be the exploitation continued exploitation of urban working families. We here in Los Angeles have served as a model, an example for the rest of the country as the largest city of immigrants, the largest city of homeless. We have worked together to make Los Angeles work for everyone and create a fair environment for everyone. We can do it on this issue. And thank you, Richard Alarcon, for your leadership on this.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next group of speakers. Okay.
Buenos días.
Su nombre, por favor.
Soy el padre Margarito de la parroquia de Talpa.
I'm a Father Margarito from Talpa.
Represento a LA Voice.
I represent LA Voice
y a toda la comunidad inmigrante.
and the immigrant community.
Somos parte del área del señor Wizard.
Yeah, we are in the area of Councilmember Wizard.
Estamos aquí porque pedimos que apoyen a la tarjeta de la ciudad.
Yeah, we are here to request that you support this city ID card.
Somos la voz de los pobres que pedimos a ustedes
We are
que
the
los
voice
representan.
of the poor, and we are asking you that represent us.
Porque queremos que hagan justicia para ellos.
We want justice for them.
Los pobres ganan poco.
Poor people earns very, little money.
Y luego al cambiar su cheque también la gente les quita más dinero.
And when they go to change their check, they also take money from their check.
Los pobres son confundidos, están en la cárcel o son agarrados por la policía porque son confundidos por otras personas.
Yeah, the poor sometimes get confused, or they are confused and they are taken to jail because they confuse them with somebody else.
Ellos viven el terror porque pueden ser confundidos con otra persona porque no pueden identificarse, no tienen un ID.
Yeah, they live in fear because they can be confused by someone else, and they live in fear because they don't have an ID to be able to identify themselves.
Para Dios también ellos son personas.
For God, they are also people.
Y Dios también pide justicia para ellos.
And God is asking justice for them.
Queremos que ustedes hagan el bien para ellos.
We want you to do something good for them.
Queremos que les devuelvan la identidad que el sistema les ha quitado.
We want you to give them back the identity that the system has taken away
Son
from
personas,
them.
son hijos de
Muchas
Dios.
gracias, señor. Gracias, Pablo. Gracias por el minuto. Okay, folks. The council president gave us 20 minutes. I have a list of speakers here. I know folks lined up. I just want to do how we line up here on the speaker cards. So why don't you speak, sir? Then we'll go through the cards again. We have David O'Donnell, Angelica Salas, Carolina Briones, Reverend D. Art Cribbs, and Marilena Garcia. Give us your name.
My name is Miguel Robles. I am the founder and coordinator of the Latino American Alliance for Immigrant Rights. We started this campaign in San Francisco in 2007. We continue the campaign in Richmond and in Oakland and East Bay. And now we see this concept improved with adding a debit card. And we came here to support this program that you are working on. I am very happy that you are going to do it in this very large city. You are going to benefit thousands of immigrants, and you're going to show countrywide that Los Angeles, California, is no Phoenix, is no Arizona, is no Georgia, is no Alabama, that you are really supporting the community that have you here. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the next group of speakers, Angelica Salas, David O'Connell,
Good morning.
Councilmember Labange.
Announcement, the clock kept running, so if you could add a minute to this time.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Angelica Salas. I'm the Executive Director of CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of Los Angeles, and I am enthusiastically in support of the Los Angeles City Service Card. This city-sponsored photo identification card would increase the confidence amongst those who carry it, and especially for immigrants who are aspiring citizens. It provides a greater sense of ownership, legitimacy, and worth in this community. This city card is worth banking on. The city service card is an added value for public safety, and law enforcement officials will be able to identify those they speak to. I think this card moves us forward, and let's continue the forward momentum for away from alienation and for immigrant integration. The city service card will do that. Let's support it. LA will stand as a leader, as it always has, and the city card service will help so many of our immigrant communities.
Thank you. Father David O'Connell, Carolina Briones, Reverend D. Art Cribbs, and Marilena Garcia.
Father David O'Connell from St. Michael's in South LA. I'm here with Father Jay Canaan and Father Paul Griesgraber from the San Fernando Valley, and some of our parishioners from South LA. All over the Archdiocese we have hundreds of thousands of parishioners who are good, God-fearing people going to work and raising their families, but they're high victims of crime because of the fact that they carry cash everywhere, all their transactions done in cash. We have many, many people coming to our parishes who get beaten up, mugged. All their cash for the week is gone, and this card will be a great development for them. As on behalf of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and our parishioners all over Los Angeles, we support very strongly this program, and thank you for taking it on. It means a great deal to us for safety in the city, for safety of our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Carolina Briones, Reverend D. Art Cribbs.
Hi, I'm Carolina Briones with the California Community Foundation. We are very proud to support the goal of immigrating immigrants into our civic and economic life in the city. We strongly support the city service card as a way to bring immigrants and other vulnerable populations into the mainstream of our civic and economic life. Many immigrants and low-income and homeless residents will benefit greatly by having access to an ID card and a low-cost debit card instead of having to rely on expensive check cashing services or carrying cash. And really, to make the most of this opportunity, we also need to support financial literacy programs so that folks can really make the most of this card, and we're committed to finding resources in philanthropy to support that. And beyond the practical realities, this policy really speaks to our values as Angelinos. Here in LA, we know we have a special history of diversity and immigration, and we know that we're a stronger community because we are diverse. Immigrant contributions are central to our past and our future success, and it's really just common sense to make sure that all members of our communities have the tools they need to fully join and participate in society. We thank you, the city, for its leadership. Strongly support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. President, members of the Council, I'm the Reverend Dr. Art Cribbs, Executive Director of Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, State of California. I stand with others today in support of this opportunity to provide services through this card. California is moving rapidly into the future. Oakland is leading the way. San Francisco, Richmond already have this card in play. Los Angeles is now catching up with our neighbors to the north. It is really important that we provide services for all people in our city, particularly those who are having very difficult times because of the inadequacies of our state and federal laws and procedures. Making this card available to all persons, particularly through the library, gives us a greater sense of opportunity and equality for persons who have been denied services because of their status, because of their immigration status. I'm also excited by this card's ability to integrate not only the library services, but the financial and banking services, making access to those institutions available to persons who have been denied is very important to all of us. We support this bill.
Thank you. Okay, next.
All right. Good morning. It's pretty clear that
State your name.
I'm sorry, it's Rabbi Jonathan Klein with Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. It's pretty clear that you're going to do the right thing, so I'm not going to give you all the reasons why you're doing the right thing and why that's good. I'd like to frame it in sort of an ethical, theological perspective. The measure of our society, of our capacity to correct the injustices that plague our society, is our willingness to love those we have never met, to share their struggle, to seek their peace. All people are created b'tselem Elohim, in God's image, and from that comes inherent infinite worth, inherent full equality, and inherent uniqueness. I applaud the fact that we are standing here together, not focused only on self-interest, but also in a heart of compassion to ensure that all people are embraced by this system, so that selfless acts of love for our neighbors, our friends, and even those utterly categorically other in the eyes of those around us are...
Now, it's my understanding, Rabbi, that your name wasn't called. So I want to make sure that I have the right people. So I should have a Reverend Dr. Cribbs. And what about Maria Elena Garcia?
I did not. I don't know.
Okay, and what's your name, ma'am?
My name is Leslie Gersikoff. I have a card.
I can't.
Leslie Gersikoff.
But they didn't call your name. You guys can't come up to.
We can't hear. That's the problem.
But you cannot come up to the center unless your name is called. This is not where you just come and you get in line.
I'm sorry, when you said the next speaker, there had not been a name following Art Cribbs, and there was no one standing up here, so I apologize if I spoke.
We won't hold it against you, Rabbi. Okay, so now. No, not a man of God. So, can I have a name here? Ayoko? Miyashita? Carlos Martinez? William Breyerman? So anyway, go right ahead. And Mr. Breyerman, I know I butchered your last name, so I'm going to let you set the record straight. Go ahead. Identify yourself, then speak.
Hi, my name is Ayako Miyashita. I am coming here from Inner City Law Center. We are a legal services provider headquartered on Skid Row. We provide services to homeless individuals and homeless veterans. And we are very excited to be here in support of the City Service Card. Identification is really key for our folks to access social services. And we find that a lot of our clients are without identification in many points in their lives for various reasons. A big part of it is not having a home. We are very excited about the fact that there is a debit card function to this. We work with a lot of folks that rely on cash, and they carry around a lot of cash with them when they do get paid and go to the check cashing places. So you've heard all the arguments, and we wholeheartedly agree with what's been placed before you. So we're very excited, and we look forward to a positive result here. Thank you.
Thank you. Carlos Martinez, then William, then Raul Claros. Yes.
Carlos Martinez from the Centro de Pueblo. We're in support of the City Service Card program. We believe that this is a great idea. It's very functional. It's a constituent-friendly program which will supplement many city programs such as the Work Source and Family Source Centers. Having a Family Source Center and echoing what the previous individual stated, a lot of social service organizations do need their participants who are your constituents to have IDs for different purposes, from childcare all the way into receiving ongoing or new services for their families or themselves. In addition, financial literacy is a major component which will be addressed through the city service card, of being able to not just lower the cost of cashing checks, but it will also allow participants to have an effective and efficient tool which will allow them to receive services.
Thank you, sir. Next, and followed by Raul Claros and Eugenia Wilson. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is William Bayramian. I am joined by Teresa Yeremian. We are with the Armenian National Committee of America's Western Region, and we represent the largest Armenian American advocacy organization in the United States, including many chapters in the city of Los Angeles, in San Fernando Valley, Hollywood, and Crescenta Valley, the Solon Tahunga area. And we are here on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of Armenian Americans in the city of Los Angeles in support of the city services card. We think that it will be a benefit undoubtedly to the many Armenians who live in the city of Los Angeles, but I think more importantly, it'll be a benefit to the citizens or the people of the city of Los Angeles generally, and that's why we're here supporting it. We encourage the members of the City Council to support it, and we thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Raul, or Ms. Wilson, you can go before him. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Eugenia Wilson. I am the program director for Living Advantage. We service foster youth in the Los Angeles County. And we stand in support of this city service card because one of our challenges and one of the things that our foster youth faces is not being identifiable. This card helps them become identifiable. We have worked hard with the program that we have. We have a web application that we've created for them where they can store their vital life documents like their birth certificate and social security cards. So this card here gives them something to have in their pocket. So when they're able to transition out, they're able to get housing, they're able to get medical. And so not being identifiable is a challenge. And our youth coming from the system are unidentifiable, and this gives them that opportunity. We cannot write a check without an ID. And we can't use our cards, our Visa cards or anything without an ID. So we thank you, and we stand in support.
Okay, Mr. Carlos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm here on behalf of the Latino Coalition of Los Angeles Political Action Committee. We're an advocacy group organizing and mobilizing the communities of interest of Koreatown, Westlake, Pico Union, and South Los Angeles, as well as parts of Mid-City. And I'm joined here by folks from St. Cecilia Church, St. Thomas Church. We want to applaud the inclusionness and the efforts of all of you council members to finally give us identification, give us financial and economic development, and also leadership and an identity that otherwise many of our communities and members that are part of the working class wouldn't be able to do that. We've been fighting, we've been struggling. Today we have taken a major step forward, not only nationally, but we've also done it here in the great city of Angels. Thank you so much for your leadership, and I applaud you, and I think you guys all deserve a round of applause.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, our 20-minute hearing, the time has expired, but everyone that's here in support of this item, would you please stand for a moment? Everyone in support of this item, would you please stand? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Alacon.
Council members, Los Angeles is a city that cares. And it's unfortunate that the federal government has failed us by not giving us clarity and definition relative to immigration status. And we certainly need comprehensive immigration reform. I think all of us agree to that. But while the federal government has failed us, we still have the responsibility to manage a city. And you cannot manage a city effectively or to its maximum if you're not able to identify over 400,000 people that live in our midst. It is time that we move these people out of the shadows in the full light of day into the true light of day. The fact is, we know they're there. We ask them to landscape our houses, take care of our kids, prepare our food for us in restaurants. We ask them to travel great distances across the city to do that work. And everybody knows it, and just about everybody has used their services at one time or another. And yet, we don't want them to say who they are and what their address is. I think that's essentially what the item is all about. But we also have to deal with some other issues that this card will give us an opportunity to fix. We had hundreds of thousands of foreclosures in the city of Los Angeles, and as much as you've heard my challenges to the banking industry and financial industry about their responsibility in this, we know we could have saved a lot of those households if they had more intellectual ability with regard to financial responsibility. And so this not only will provide a card, it will also organize the library department in such a fashion to provide information about financial literacy and develop programs to upgrade our common knowledge about financial transactions, things like how to buy a house and how to maintain it from a financial perspective, how to buy a car, how to do a budget. That's what this is all about. Now, one of the greatest benefits of this card is to improve the general public safety. It is sad that police officers find themselves having to take somebody in for hours upon hours just because they didn't have an ID. And that is time that they need to be on the streets. We cannot afford for them not to be on the streets. It is also unnecessary for us to have tens of thousands of people walking around with cash and becoming targets, literally walking ATMs for thugs in our neighborhoods that take advantage of them. And so this is to promote public safety. This is to recognize that we have to manage a city, notwithstanding the federal government's failure to do so, to manage our country with regard to immigration. And it's to, I think, provide broader services from the city of Los Angeles. Because the final thing I want to mention is that this card is the beginning. It is a pathway to so many other kinds of services that can be rendered. The MTA has already contacted the mayor's office to ask them how they can add on their services to this card. And think of the possibilities that how we can use new technology to make this card usable by any number of government services. Now, the person that provides those services, the organization that provides those services, has the choice to determine whether or not they want to accept this as a form of ID and ATM. But I think we should give them that opportunity to bring these people, as I said, into the full light of day. Now, we can argue till the day is long about our issues and concerns about immigration. But we cannot argue about the need for our city to do a better job of providing opportunities for people to advance economically in our community, and that means all the ships will rise. Not just those of undocumented workers, but everybody in the city will benefit from greater consumer ability, from more organized financial responsibility, from the ability of people to truly enter into the American stream. Now, this is not a pathway to naturalization, but it is a pathway to a better way of life for hundreds of thousands of people in our community. And so with that, I urge your support, and I know that we have demonstrated over and over again that City of Los Angeles is a compassionate city that cares for those who may or may not have documents. And we can do that once again by taking another step forward, as other cities have done, to recognize that this is a community that needs to be part of our system. They need to participate in our financial system in a way that truly gives them greater opportunities, and in doing so, all of us will be better for it. So with that, I ask for your aye vote.
Okay, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a lot to pack into 3 minutes, so I'll be quick. But let me first say, if anybody needs to know the heart of the man who just spoke, it's measured here today. And I want to thank Mr. Alarcon for the incredible service that he has given us and the person that he is to bring this before us today. Give him a round of applause and thank him again. Secondly, I've been here for 11 years, and I've seen packed rooms. And while we might not have as many people, because we've had some times where people spill over into 2 or 3 different rooms, I've never seen as broad a coalition of people in my 11 years here as I saw here today. I'm going to miss groups, but you know, when you see ACE and Community Coalition and Chirla and Carecen and LA Voice and One LA and Thai CDC and APAC and CLU and ANC, I mean, I've seen a lot of these groups work together in little bits and pieces. I've never seen all of them come together on one thing. And when we were asked who's here in opposition, not one single card, that is a pretty profound and strong day. I was very pleased to see the business community and the faith community and the labor community and each aspect of our immigrant community and our civil rights community here today. And it reminded me of 8 years ago when we introduced legislation I was proud to write that had a lot of the same criticisms we hear from the outside about this, to recognize the matricula card, the matricula consular, as an acceptable form of identification. And people said to me back then, if you do that, aren't you changing the laws? Aren't you incentivizing people to come here? Somebody asked me that 2 days ago from the press. They said, if you vote for this, aren't you incentivizing people to come over the border? I said, there's nobody right now in Michoacan, there's nobody right now in Thailand who's waiting to see how we vote on whether they make a decision to come here or not. We'll leave that in the hands of people who make the decisions, and we'll leave federal immigration policy in the hands of those folks. But do not cede the power you have before you exercise it. And we have power here today to either make a decision to take care of folks that are here or to not. To take care of the lowest income level of our society, with whether you're an immigrant or not, only one out of four people have a bank account. Whether we say that this is an America and a city that allows everybody to come in out of the shadows and to be a part of that mainstream. This is about homeless. This is about foster youth. This is about seniors. When we see other states where you have to have an ID card to vote, well, it was city ID cards like library cards with a picture that were the saving grace in some of those states where otherwise seniors. I remember listening to an African-American senior who was being challenged about whether or not she was able to vote, and she had lived in this town her entire life, but luckily she had a library card because she didn't drive anymore, and that allowed her to keep her most precious right. This is about our economy. This is about banking. This is about allowing people to buy homes. This is about allowing people to have some dignity. This is about allowing people to have safer streets here in Los Angeles. So we did it once before. There's nothing to fear about expanding it and doing it again. My time is up, but thank you all so much for being that City of Angels here today. Let's get this done, and let's live with our hope and not with our fear. Thank you.
Okay. Before I call on the next speaker, I want to inform the council members that we do have mayor staff and city staff, our librarian, everybody's here. So if there are direct questions, they are here. With that, Ms. Perry.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment. And again, I'm also very encouraged by the depth and breadth of the list of support here. It is extremely diverse. I'm encouraged because I represented South Los Angeles for the last 11 years, and I know what a dramatic and sweeping impact a program and a card like this will have on people's mobility, their financial literacy, their ability to go and seek employment, and then to just simply enjoy going to the library with their children and family members. So I look forward to the RFP coming back so that we can get into the details and make sure that this gets implemented in a way that is easy to use, easy to understand, and accessible to all. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I do want to first rise and thank Councilor Alarcon for his advocacy. He's worked hard on this issue, and it's a great example of how the mayor's office, our executive branch, under the tutelage of Larry Frank and his group, were able to put together this team approach and allow us to reach this threshold that is, I believe, historical, because now we are providing a vehicle for all of the folks. And I speak from a perspective where 40% of my district is at or below poverty. And I would say about 35% of that population has to live in the shadows. But with this card, you come out into the light of day. You're able to stand with integrity and get involved in our civic process, but more importantly, contribute to the economy, fill this bucket full of holes where all this money is being seeped out and sucked out by the gang subculture, by those predatory loans, by those places where they charge you 30, 40% interest to use your own money. All that can go away. So I want to ask the mayor's office and the library department, as I have a minute and a half left, if I come on up to the center table.
If you guys will come up to the center table. Larry, come. Please come up.
Larry, you have the library department, CDD. In committee and in the report, it talks about the RFP coming back in 90 days, but I just want some fundamental questions asked and answered, which is, how much is it going to cost a person to engage in this process, and who will be conducting the service?
Yeah. So it'll go out to bid to banks, third-party vendors, what we're hoping to get. So the only thing we can really look at is what Oakland has implemented. So the cost in Oakland is $15 for the card, and it's $10 for low-income and seniors, right? And there is, some, costs as well for transactions. For Los Angeles to join in this conversation will allow us to potentially drive the costs of any transaction down considerably more from bringing to the table. But the cost to the city will be zero, and we're asking the bidder to reimburse the city for the costs of the RFP as well, but there will be zero cost to the city of Los Angeles.
And that's what I wanted to amplify. This does not come out of our general fund. Not one penny from the taxpayers going into this.
Does not.
Does not go into this, and it'll be self-sufficient.
That's correct.
Now, when it comes to the multiplier effect of how much we're saving the constituent and how much they can now keep within their own pockets to bring back in the economy, as Councilman Alarcon described, do you have any dollar figures there?
Sure. Councilmember Reyes Abigail Marquez with the Community Development Department. We manage the Bank on Los Angeles initiative, and the Brookings Institute did release a study that revealed that on average people are spending $800 to $1,000 on check cashing fees, or $40,000 in their career by using the facilities like payday lenders and the check cashing institutions.
So I don't want to call it white-collar crime, but it's a high level of abuse when the poorest of the poor are paying so much out of their hard-earned dollars just to keep their money safe and just to use it. And that's a big chunk of change that goes back into the economy and purchasing and acquiring goods and for sustenance. Would that be accurate?
That would be accurate.
Great. My time is over. I can feel the Council President ready to speak. So thank you so much. This is incredible. And congratulations. Thank you again, Councilman Alarcon.
Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much, everybody who's here. It's great to see here. The priests, it's great to see you. Not on a Sunday, which I don't make it enough. So I confess to you, I missed Mass a few times, but you make up for it. The library department is so important because it's the key to education, right? You walk in. Give me 1 minute, Mr. Librarian, how important this is to help educate the people of Los Angeles.
Well, I think anything that is guiding individuals, bringing individuals into our libraries that increases access. I mean, our public libraries, above all else, are about empowerment. They're about opportunity. They're about access. And this will open the doors to our libraries for many, and will be a path to our libraries for many in our community. And the more who take advantage of our services, certainly financial literacy is hugely important, and we welcome that role. But people who will come into our libraries by having this card will be able to take advantage of all the wonderful resources we have for children and teens, our collections, our wonderful staff. The list goes on and on. So
community libraries and resource centers. You help everybody in so many different ways.
Community centers, resource centers, absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, one question I have for the mayor's office. You're a deputy mayor, right?
Yes.
There? All right. Now, Universal City is in the county of Los Angeles. So on this card, what's the name of the card? Because I don't want to confuse you. It's a technical thing. Universal City is a county parcel. It's a studio. Could we change that to make it reflect Los Angeles?
The Los Angeles City Service Card is what it is supposed to be called, and hopefully will be from here on in.
So the Los Angeles City Service Card
Yes.
from the best city in the universe. How's that?
There we go.
Okay. And Mr. Alarcon, I know there's some praise
No, wait,
passed
hold
around.
Mr. Labange's time.
Okay.
What are you pointing at?
Oh, the big board right behind you. It's a big picture, you heard. They just changed it. No, it's all the information that's up
I
there.
thought you were pointing to a card.
No,
okay,
no.
Anyway, start his time. You can even speed it up a little bit.
I'll
but
go real quick.
Now go
just
back
to say, Richard,
Mr. Alarcon.
Richard, you're from the San Fernando Valley. You're a great graduate of a great high school, and you've worked hard, and over 20 years an elected official. And this legislation is going to help people find their way that may be able to sit in your seat that you sat in for so many years. You're truly an angel in the city of Angels.
Wait. I got it. Mr. Zine.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon, Richard, nice job. You come from humble beginnings, and you're trying to help those people who are living in humble environment. So congratulations to make this happen. Larry, you and I had a meeting last night to discuss this. Coming from law enforcement, I support a driver's license because when you get a driver's license, you have photo ID, you have a thumbprint. Law enforcement can use that wherever you're from. The fact is, driver's license is the ultimate answer to try and help people to assimilate with our society here in Los Angeles, California, and America. So I'm a strong supporter. This is a step to help folks. Identity theft. How can we help prevent the escalating problem with identity theft with this particular card?
Yeah. So the banking community deals with identity theft all the time. So there are a number of ways in which they actually do that work. There are a number of lists that this will actually be. There's anti-terrorism lists that actually are part of this process. There will be limits on how much can actually be used per month. It'll be a $3,000 maximum, unless it's a direct deposit. Then it can be a little bit longer, a little bit higher. So that deals with other concerns related to how it could be used. But there is built into the banking community all of the rules that will be established. This will be a Visa card, and it will be issued by a bank.
So if someone wants to go out and commit crime and use this card to go out and commit crime and then put the money in the account, that's not going to work because there's a limit. The fact is, if someone gets stopped by an officer, whether they're committing a violation or not, this gives the officer the discretion to maybe check further into that individual without doing, without any identification. If I stop you on the street, you say your name is Herb Wesson, and there's nothing to verify anything, at least this gives the officer some type of identification to do some type of follow-up in the event they need to do an investigation on it, versus a person that has absolutely no identification whatsoever.
So it is absolutely the discretion of the officer. This card does not require an officer to recognize this as the true identity of the person issuing it. Some identity is better than no identity.
Exactly.
In the city of Los Angeles.
So the fact is, the banks will be responsible.
Yeah.
As Mr. Reyes said, it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything to implement this program. The implementation will be at the expense of whomever, but not the city of Los Angeles, the taxpayers. And when we talk about people that have dollars, that have a job, that go to the cash checking place, I see 1%, 2%, whatever the case may be, this will then move this into the legitimate banking industry. Not to say that the cash checking places aren't legitimate, but they will then have that card to use a purchase, and that will assist them. It will assist the banks. The banks aren't going to lose money, obviously. They're not in the business to lose money, and it's not going to cost the taxpayers anything. So overall, it'll help bring people into the forefront to use a system that's in place, the card, the banking industry, the debit card. So it will assist people, regardless of where they're from. We talked about the matricular card last night. Matricular card is identification issued by a foreign government, but the fact is that doesn't give you banking access. This will actually give you that credit card, that debit card, to do purchases. And if you have a direct deposit, it goes into that institution, it's safe and secure, and that card is with you. So I don't see a downside. What I see is an opportunity to help people in our community, to help people use the system that's there for many of us to use and not to abuse. And hopefully someday we'll be able to provide a driver's license so law enforcement will have the information, so protections will be there with a fingerprint identification and a photograph. And you're on the right path. Mr. Alarcon, again, thank you again. And I'm almost done. Thank you, Mr. Wesson. Done. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think everything's been said as to why this is a great program and good public policy for the city of Los Angeles. And as many of the speakers already said, LA will be leading the way in what's possible to build better communities, to build a stronger economy, to provide people with the opportunity to achieve the American dream. So this is a great policy all around. I do want to thank Councilmember Alarcon for not only this policy, but he's always standing up for those from low-income communities and for those who need the support. Thank you very much, Mr. Alarcon, for all the efforts you have done. You're always ahead of the game on these items, so thank you so much. And last but not least, LA Voice, One LA, and a number of other groups have often had testimonials. Many elected officials are called to meet with them, and you sit there and people come up from the community and talk about what life is like or on a particular issue, experiences they have had. And let me give my testimonial. When I got to this country, my family arrived in the early 1970s. We were afraid of banks, we were afraid of institutions, we did not deal with them, and it made life much harder for us. But at the same time, I saw even as a young boy the importance that it was for my family to be engaged in the community, for my parents to be engaged with a civic life and not be afraid, and how much more we could contribute to this country if in fact we did. Having this card is going to help many of the people like my family when we first arrived to this country, whether we were legal or not. It's going to make a great difference for people to adjust to this country, feel invested in the city, take ownership, and feel like they're part of this urban fabric. So congratulations to the Mayor's Office, Alarcón, and to everyone who came out. Felicidades. Hay que seguir adelante. Muchísimas gracias.
Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Alarcón, for bringing this matter before us. There's been some discussion here about people's immigration status, and I want to, I think, refocus us a little bit on the fact that the central issue being addressed here is the extraordinarily large unbanked community in Los Angeles, which are unbanked for any number of reasons, because of perhaps homeless status, because of, yes, their immigration status, because they may have had a name change that hasn't been reflected in legal documents, perhaps in the case of a transgender individual, for example, because of perhaps an immigrant who is a legal resident but is fearful or unfamiliar with the American banking system and just doesn't want to have anything to do with it. And the result of that is predatory lending practices by check cashing services and a cash economy, both of which are terrible to the people that use them and, by the way, to our small businesses and to our city's revenues. Because as people are engaged in a cash economy, that is the essence of the underground economy that deprives the city of the sales tax revenues that it's entitled to. So I think that this is an important step forward in bringing people who are otherwise in the underground economy, otherwise in the cash economy, bringing them more into the mainstream by giving them a means to be able to participate in commerce in a way that they're comfortable with, that will also have those additional benefits. When I was in private law practice before I went into public service, my law firm was involved with suing check cashing services on behalf of borrowers in class action cases across the country because of their usurious and predatory practices. And this is a big step forward, I think, in protecting people who don't have access to banking services from those predatory practices. But the other thing that was very compelling to me in discussing this issue with my colleagues and with people from the mayor's office and others in city staff is the public safety issue that Mr. Zine touched upon. And in speaking with others in law enforcement, it seems to me that this is actually a significant step forward in protecting people from the need to carry large amounts of cash, in protecting officers of the LAPD from having to bring people in just because they don't have an acceptable form of ID when there was no crime involved, taking up their valuable time that they could be on the streets and protecting us from actual crime. So for all those reasons, I think this is a very important step forward. I'm happy to support this. I would ask for one thing, and that is, Mr. Frank, you did mention that this would be zero cost to the city. As Budget and Finance Chair, it's my job to make sure that it is. So what I would ask is that when the responses to the RFPs come back and we have identified every cost to the city that may be associated with this, direct and indirect, that will be reimbursed by the responders to the RFPs. I would ask that that be assessed by the CAO to ensure that it is cost neutral, and if there are any concerns, that Budget and Finance have an opportunity to consider that. That would be my request, and Mr. Aliquin, if you would accept that as a friendly amendment, I'd be happy to support this.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Aliquin to close.
Council members, first of all, I want to thank you for all the kudos. I'm thinking, geez, I should have lost more elections. I might have got a whole bunch more kudos for things. We talk about community policing. The one thing I did want to mention is in order to have an effective community policing project, you got to know who is in the community. And so I absolutely believe that our police department will be able to use this as a tool to organize the communities that are victims of high rates of crime. And that's one thing that I think goes unnoticed and has gone unnoticed so far in this discussion. But I think it's a critical element. Our police department has reduced crime by working with the community over the last 10 years dramatically. And I believe that this will accelerate their good performance to date by bringing the community closer to the police department and working together to solve issues of crime. I want to thank you for your comments. We've said enough. I thank you for in advance for your support. I also want to thank all these departments, especially the Mayor's Office, for the leadership in helping us put this together, and the Community Development Department and the Library Department. I want to thank the Library Department and I want to mention the labor union asked me for coming forward and endorsing this plan because they want to provide more services, and they know if a library stands for one thing, it should stand for literacy, whether it's reading literacy or financial literacy. And so I want to thank all of these departments for coming together and making this happen. Thank you so much.
And Richard, you referred to your loss. It takes a courageous man to come here today. And your loss is a loss to the state government and a loss to the people of the state of Los Angeles. With that said, Madam Clerk, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 1 no.
All right, that passes. Okay, now let's keep it down. If you keep on making noise, we're going to have to vote on it again. And since you already passed, it's passed forthwith. Okay, Mr. City Attorney, it is, I've had discussions with the CAO and the Chair of Budget, and we've decided to continue item 26 till November 21st. But it's my understanding that you wanted to read a verbal amendment into the record.
Yes, Mr. President. It's not really an amendment. It just changes the agenda description. That the agenda description for the November 21st agenda should read also, and also pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, in order to review its position in relation to the labor issues associated with the litigation and to provide bargaining instructions to the CAO.
Okay, so without objection, that will be continued until November 21st. Mr. Clerk, is there any additional business before this body?
Yes, sir. General public comment.
Okay. Okay, if we could have a James Shaw come forward John Walsh, if you're here. Dr. Tom Williams, please come forward. And after Dr. Williams, I'll be calling Mr. Daniel Garcia. Come forward. Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President, council members. Well, I was kind of encouraged by that last presentation about a universal card. I'm always concerned when the small voice isn't heard. would have been interested in hearing Councilman Englinger's point of view, just because it's important to hear all voices. For almost a decade now, James Shaw from the Union for Medical Cannabis Patients. For almost a decade now, I've been examining California law related to medical cannabis, also the developing case law. And,
Mr. Shaw, hold for a second and hold his time. Could we please have silence? Could you leave quietly? Mr. Dude, sit down. Go on, Mr. Shaw.
Thank you. For the sake of instructing patient groups on how to be on good terms with law enforcement, in 2007 I started the union and sued the DEA. And in mediation with the DEA, what we were trying to do was essentially get them to agree about our compliance Ag Site Secure, which we spent a lot of time developing. So the DEA was not in agreement with, they couldn't endorse a private organization, but they said that if we were following the California Attorney General guidelines, that we would be in good stead. And in fact, this program is based on the Attorney General's guidelines. We did this back in 2007. And what we're here today to tell you is that, a few weeks ago we submitted ordinances to you that demonstrate how you can operate and regulate cannabis patient associations. And in late September, you asked questions of the legislature that you were confused about. And so what we are presented you today are the answers to all of those questions, so that when you're ready to move forward with regulation, you'll know that you've got some answers that came from a pretty authoritative voice. We've been accurate 100% of the time in our interpretations and projections of court findings on the topic of medical cannabis. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
I'm sorry, yes, we did.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. 60,000 requests in the past 7 days. Ladies and gentlemen, the only poll that counted, the 7-Eleven poll, again correct, Obama president, they predicted. That's why we're very happy to say 7-Eleven predicted Obama, and Obama is our next president. Thank you. Now, Obama hates Antonio. What did Obama do to the mayor? He sent him to Florida. You only go to Florida to retire if you're Jewish. You don't go there for your rich Mexican-American mayor. Why? Because he's worried about the scandal that is about to occur when the media starts linking him to Kate Del Castillo. And if you want to see a naked picture of the mayor's girlfriend, go to HollywoodHighlands.org and watch the lesbian action between her and star Eva Longoria. I'm telling you right now, we had an enormous victory. Beverly Hills and South Central and Mr. Parks, we killed the $90 billion Measure J. $90 billion. The cleanup for the hurricane is only $50 billion. The mayor is now, his tail is between his legs. We have won. The only problem we have is next time around we're going to get rid of the death penalty because it's racist. And now you right-wing Republicans won on that one. You lost on all the others. And I want to say I'm so happy that we won. I'm so happy. And remember, when I win, I'm as vengeful as when I lose. HollywoodHighlands.org. Go to our website now. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Tom Williams, followed by Dow House Dude and Daniel Garcia. Yes.
Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council Board Member, Land Use Committee Chairperson. We have a little bit of a problem. We were called to a committee meeting here in City Hall, and we were told that neighborhood councils should be concentrating on key issues. Well, we have a key issue. It's called transportation. And one of the main elements of transportation right now is MTA funding, even though they lost on Measure J. However, there is a call for projects. It's been around for years, more, and probably maybe within the last 10 years. Every 2 years, there's a call for projects. Many neighborhood councils know where they need changes in their transportation. A little bit more here, a little bit less there, a few more things here. Under the I-5 overpass on Mission Road, they need to really change the bus stops and things like that. Neighborhood councils has a lot of expertise in their neighborhoods. However, we were never notified before of the call for projects by MTA through LADOT. LADOT this year said, oh, well, we'll notify them. But then they got out-of-date rolls from Dunn, and they were told, okay, go through the city council district offices. Well, the city council district offices never informed the neighborhood councils. So this year, in 2 days, there will be an end to all call for projects by neighborhood councils. They can't get them in fast enough to the council districts because all of them have to go through the council districts. So what happens to Dunn and the neighborhood councils? We have to wait another 2 years before we can be
Thank you, Mr.
informed.
Williams.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dude, followed by Mr. Garcia.
See, I heard it all today. It's pretty cool. Everybody's going to have an ID, but they're not going to have a home. Isn't that stupid? You walk around with an ID. Where do you live? Hell, I don't have a place. Oh, but you got an ID. No, the cops have the right to stop you because you look black, you look Mexican, but they have the right to stop you, and they're not supposed to. They're violating your civil rights by profiling you. But now, at least you'll be able to say, look, I am a good Mexican. I'm a good black dude or lady or whatever nationality. See, we keep separating each other by too many things. And City Hall is not helping to stop separating people from one another. We need to provide a domicile. You know the word domicile? It means an address. We need to provide a real place, a real address for everyone. And it's not free. Everybody's already working and paying taxes. Every idiot on the street that asks me, you want to give everybody a free house? It's not free, you idiots. We're going to keep on paying taxes. But we'll have every single place in Los Angeles with a resident that is paying taxes. And they have to provide for their own maintenance. They're not paying rent, after all. Do you start to get the idea? We can do it. We can do it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mr. Garcia?
My name is Daniel Garcia. I'm a person with disability. The last time I came here, I was denied my 1 minute extra time to speak, given to anyone who has a disability under the ADA law. If the council wants to deny my right again for an extra minute after the 2 minutes allocated by the council rule, I will make sure that the Department of Justice watch the video. And I will make sure that I will write the letter to DOJ and the city attorney, and so that people with disability can never be denied again. I demand my 1 minute extra time right now after this area after this 30 minutes, I demand my extra minute. Please give it to me because I'm going to the DOJ, and the DOJ will be happy for you. Okay? So please, give me my 1 minute now, and I will be giving you my time and my right to you. Okay? So, give me my 1 minute.
Mr. Garcia, I do remember when you came in and you weren't denied the right to speak. That item, let me finish. That item had already been heard in committee, so we fulfilled our public comment requirement. But I will give you a minute right now. But you weren't prohibited. It's the rules. Now go ahead.
Okay, I was not prohibited to speak, but I was denied upon my right to ask you that minute. And that's what happened. That what happened the last time that I came here. So, by saying that, thank you for allowing me to speak 1 minute. Now I can tell you what's going on. Okay? Now, I want to tell you that the city council needs to be more proactive and to leave people with disabilities. So, like this, for example, and many other areas, we need more housing, affordable and accessible housing. And I'm willing to take Tom Nabong because he was defending my right too. Okay? Because I saw him climbing to you and defending to you. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Good to see you again, Mr. Garcia. Okay, that concludes general public comment. I do want to announce that yesterday the city of Los Angeles sent its second council member to Washington, D.C. Let's give a congratulations to Mr. Cardenas. You will be missed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to take the opportunity to thank all of the staff in this building for all the wonderful work that you do every day, your unsung heroes, and also to the members of the City Council, the elected officials of the City of Los Angeles. They sing about us, but not so much in a nice way far too often. But I just want to say how much I appreciate all of you and how much I respect you very much. And it's been wonderful to be calling each and every one of you a colleague. And I look forward to serving this city in Congress. I look forward to serving our great state and our great country. And please, please count on me to be a voice for this city, and also to be somebody who's going to be tireless about working on the kinds of things that are going to benefit this community as a whole. And it's just a tremendous honor for me to have been able to win an election and to be told that in a couple months you'll be a congressman, Tony Cardenas, and who'd have ever thought that that would happen. And thank you to everybody who's helped me, everybody who's contributed to who I am, and also thank you to all of you who understand and know what it's like to be a dedicated public servant. Thank you very, very much.
Okay, well, let's give Mr. Cardenas another round of applause. Okay, it's my understanding that we received a card. I don't see it from Mr. Jones, but if you say you turned it in, you're regular here. I would not doubt that you did. It must have gotten mixed in with another item. So come on, go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Daniel Jones, and it is truly an honor to see a senator right in front of me. It's a privilege to come down here. A lot of my effort and energies, motivations, and love is for what you all do here. It really is. Apparently, my parents made sure that you can't fool everybody all the time, and they did the exact same thing in their lives in front of me. That's why I do it now. They stood up for what they believed in, and they passed it on to their kids, and I'm one of them. There's a lot of things that we could work on together, and that's the way I want to keep it. If I was really a nutcase, I'd be screaming and yelling. I wouldn't be doing it in here. I'd be doing it in a garage somewhere, and I'm not doing that. I'm bringing it here. I like to raise the issue, and I drew the line. And I'm not going to move from that, and that's an honest statement from me. Thank you very much, and have a good day. And congratulations to the senator and everybody else. Have a good day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clerk, I understand we have a special request by Mr. Weezar? It's been withdrawn.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other business before this committee?
Mr. President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Consider them posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Okay. Announcements, members.
You said earlier, it was so engaging to see so many polling places, so many people voting, and I want to thank the poll workers of the county who did such a wonderful job in their efforts.
The only thing, Mr. Labange, I think yesterday people waited for 6 to 7 hours. That's something that's wrong with those systems. That system. It didn't happen here, but I don't care how many people turned out. I heard that a pregnant woman, her water broke, and she said, "I'm not leaving till I vote." And they took her and put her at the front of the line, and but 4, 5, 6 hours is ridiculous. Mr. Garcetti.
I was going to say I tried that trick too, but they didn't listen to me so much. No, I just wanted to congratulate everybody who put themselves up for office, win or lose. It's a brave thing to do. Congratulate those who have won from all parties, but in particular, I want to congratulate our senator who was reelected, Dianne Feinstein, and congratulate a still somewhat young man who spent 2 years of his life here in Los Angeles, our president, who was reelected. He has L.A. history. He has some L.A. roots, Occidental College, just like our city clerk. The two of them have that right in common right there. And it's a great day to know that somebody who spent some of his formative years in his life here in the city will continue to be our president, someone who's been a great friend to Los Angeles. Congratulations, Mr. President, on your reelection.
Just wanted to add, Mr.
No,
Clerk.
wait. Mr. Reyes is next. You just on election night just put you on a roll. Too much Red Bull, Mr. Reyes.
I like to think it's the Wheaties, but I just want to stand and thank the young people. I know there's a lot of the youngsters that are in college, out of college, who just put together enormous energy. Personally, I had nephews and nieces that went out to Nevada to help vote. Max, Eddie, Nicole. I mean, my nephews and nieces are just amazing. So to see the young people come together like that, it just gives me a great sense of hope for our future, and hopefully they can keep going with all these different races as well. So my kudos and congratulations to all the young folks who are not tainted yet and still have that sense of hope.
Assistant President Pro Tem Tom Labange.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to ask the city clerk, because Mr. Garcetti was so eloquent in congratulating our president who did live for 2 years in the northeast part of Los Angeles, Occidental College. Who gave the first certificate of welcome to Barack Obama? And the records in the clerk's office downtown. I had the great fortune
Tom
when he was
Labange?
a senator from Chicago, state senator, before he was a United States senator, and a guy who knew him said, hey, go meet him at Hollywood Highland. And being what I usually do, try to do 10 things at once and wanted to get home to my family, I breezed in there faster than a Santa Ana, not knowing how great Mr. Obama would achieve, but I did give him our first greeting from our great city clerks to Los Angeles again when he came out from Chicago. So it's very exciting, and it was great to see even Mr. Romney's speech that he made at the end to say, let's put it together and let's try to make this country work. And I want to just thank everyone, as Mr. Garcetti said, who puts themselves up for public office. I'm never going to do it again, but I thank those who do.
In fact, Mr. Labange, had Romney campaigned the way he conceded, we might have had a tougher time of it. Anyway, any more? Mr. Reyes.
Council President, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to do a Tom Labange. One more point.
Go right ahead. No, you usually behave. He's the one I got to keep an eye on.
The organizer of the folks that went out was my other nephew, Max. I want to make sure Max, I didn't forget him.
No, okay, Max, you were not forgotten. Okay, everybody please rise. Adjourning motions? No, I have one. It saddens me to inform you that a phenomenal woman passed away, Carmen Warshaw. She was 95 years old. She was always active in politics. She had a serious passion for politics. Her and her husband were big allies of Jess Unruh, Robert Kennedy. In fact, she was there with Robert Kennedy when he was killed. She's also been known, her husband got sick. She donated millions of dollars to Cedars-Sinai to create a cancer research operation. She's an active, or was an active, USC trustee, and she was just a very special lady. I remember my mother was in Cedars-Sinai, and I told Carmen, just had a casual discussion, and I go to see my mother the following day, and all of a sudden, she's not in her room. So I said, where's my mother? Carmen had got on the horn, had her room changed, and she had a special gourmet diet for the rest of the time she was there. And I was fortunate enough, Mr. Garcetti, to be in Colorado for our convention, or the Democratic convention 4 years ago, and she was there as well. She was a great woman. She gave you her word. She kept her word. She will be missed. We'd like to offer condolences to her daughters, Hope Warshaw and Susan Robinson, and the entire family. Mr. Garcetti.
I hadn't heard that terrible news, and what a great woman, that she lived such a full life and was a dear friend of our family as well, and somebody who was a longtime friend and supporter of my father. And when you said the word doyen, or somebody who was just one of those institutional Democrats who was there, she touched the lives of so many greats. I mean, she made it happen, but there are those who support you financially, and then those who support you spiritually. And she was, just as you mentioned, one of those spiritual supporters for the party and for this country. She will be greatly, greatly missed.
Yes, she will be missed. Okay, with that, this council meeting is adjourned.